right, hello, and welcome to another dazzling episode of the Three Moons podcast. I'm Gavin.
I'm Audrey.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we're casting it up at Robert Link Studios in Shoreline, Washington.
Where else would we be?
We live
Gavin's
here.
house.
On this fine Wednesday.
Yeah, we've done a couple at my house.
That's true.
It is a Wednesday, but who knows?
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
Do you want me to scream into the mic?
I do, because that'll probably be the loudest you'll have ever been.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, you could be listening to it maybe on a Tuesday or a Thursday.
In the future.
Well, yeah, you could have discovered this, and it could be 5 years from when it was originally recorded.
Oh my god, this could be like 100 years in the future.
How is it, by the way? Let us know.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Does it get better?
Or really worse?
Or does it just really go downhill really fast?
All things considered, it's not great right now. So anyway, so yeah, we I think we've agreed to do kind of a nice hot button topic that should ruffle some feathers. I was about to say flethers.
Flatters?
Ruffle some fuck. Ruffle some feathers. There we go. Sorry, kids. And hopefully inspire some hot, dare I say, fuego takes.
I saw that in the show notes and I just laughed.
Yes, good. I'm glad. Yeah. So we'll see. But before we get to that, I know the question on everyone's mind is, guys, what's our signal chain?
What's your signal chain?
Like a little jazzy, like a little like.
Yeah. What's our signal chain?
Yeah.
Jazz.
And yeah. So Jordan and Audrey, you guys want to enlighten the people?
Well, we're running through our wonderful Duality SE SSL board. My gain's a little bit higher than theirs, as usual.
As per usual.
As per usual. And then we're just running some classic 57s.
It's pretty nice.
They've got pop filters. I don't. Because again, I'm just not loud enough.
Don't
Also,
need them.
we only have
Easy to deal with.
two.
Also, we
but-
only have two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm just
It
not
works.
loud enough for pop filters.
We really like our peas.
Yeah. Your boys are plosive.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, man. So yeah, we're lucky enough to be able to use this really cool SSL board, which is pretty awesome. I'm checking my notes here.
We're also using Logic today.
We're using Logic today, which is
Filth.
filthy. We've
Dirt.
actually,
Just dirty.
I think all of these, except for like two of them, all of these podcasts have been recorded
Yeah.
in Logic.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Don't worry.
Don't worry. There's a reason why Jordan likes to use Logic.
Oh, he said it.
and only
Yes.
Jordan.
And only Jordan.
the only
No,
one.
I like Logic. I just forgot all the quick keys. But now that I know that I can switch it to Pro Tools quick keys,
Yeah, they're really
that
easy
might
to switch.
change the game a little
Switch
bit.
to Pro Tools. There's a few incompatible keys, so you have to go on like you saw earlier and just like change them. But
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, because
We can get into that.
We can.
so.
We can.
So yeah, that probably gave it away. We're talking about DAWs, DAWs, digital audio workstations. So yeah, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm checking my notes, so if you're watching this, I'm sorry I don't look as professional as I sound. But in doing a little bit of research on DAWs,
You did your homework. Whoa.
a little bit. I just did as the most like minuscule amount to sound just a tiny bit credible.
A little bit better
I realized
than
I
us.
said sound really weird. Sound to sound. Sometimes I go Scandinavian. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hey, I'm
Apology-
Scandinavian.
There you go. Yeah, apologies to our Scandinavian audience.
Yeah, you should apologize.
I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
offended.
I'm really sorry. But yeah, so in doing so, I found a little bit of DAW trivia.
DA dubs.
The Dobbs.
Hit us.
So
with
yeah,
it.
I want to play a little game and see if you guys. I don't know if you cheated and saw like the link in the notes or whatever.
I didn't.
Okay, cool. So this will be
Saw
fun.
the link, didn't click on it.
Good.
So.
All right.
Jordan might be lying.
He could be. All right.
We'll never
So
know.
so yeah, we've got some trivia, and if you're out there and you know, like,
Clap your hands.
Let you know. Yeah, let us know,
Play the
and
game
maybe
with
hit
us.
us up and be like, oh, I know these things, and I have experience with
I
these
wish we had a
things.
buzzer or like a bell.
Bing bing. Hey, if chime in and go bing bing.
Okay.
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 All right. When were the first attempts to create DAWs?
Bing, bing.
Jordan.
I want to say in the early 1900s, but I'm not sure when. I'm going to say 19. Ah, man, I don't know.
I was gonna. You think early 1900s
Yeah. You think before then?
for a DAW?
Digital audio
Workstation.
Well, wait, when was the computer invented?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 80s. No, I'm gonna say the 60s. I'm gonna say the 60s.
You straddle the sides there.
I'm saying
Audrey.
the 60s. I'm hard.
The first ones, they started really trying to work with them in the 70s. Like 79 was like the first one that kind of worked.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but they obviously, like, computers back then couldn't handle, like, recording and everything.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they were all
that makes
really
sense.
expensive and stuff. So as that technology developed, what platforms could host the early DAWs? Well, think about like stuff in the 1980s.
Plant forms?
Platforms. Plant forms.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean by platforms?
Like what? Like hardware could, like,
A computer?
yeah. So, but what kind of computer?
Oh, a Mac.
Okay, that's one. An Apple II computer.
Yeah.
But there's a couple others.
IBM?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Think Pac-Man. Think
I don't know, man.
Oh.
asteroids.
Oh. Nintendo?
No, not a Nintendo. Atari.
Oh, an Atari.
yeah.
I
Had a
obviously
computer that
don't
could do
know
it.
it.
I forgot they had. Yeah.
And Commodore had a computer that could do
before my time.
early DAW stuff. I mean, this is like a very, very like
Basic.
A, basic information from me, and then B, these are very early basic forms of DAWs and stuff. And okay, the last one I have for you guys. All right, what was Pro Tools known as before it was Pro Tools?
Oh, I knew this at one point. Avid's creation.
Station?
Creation.
Avid's creation station.
It was called
Amateur
and I
Tools?
just forgot the name of it. Oops. Hopefully you can just edit this pause out.
No, we're gonna leave
Well,
it.
we're leaving it. Awkward pause and all.
We don't edit. What's editing?
Editing. Oh my gosh.
So how's it going, Audrey?
It's going pretty well. I had somebody living on my couch for a week, but she moved out, so that's been really great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was nice. You weren't quite
So,
sure what was
I wasn't quite sure what was gonna happen with that, but she moved out.
Yeah, all right.
Been mixing. It's been fun.
Nice.
Been in here mixing specifically.
Yeah, I've come to enjoy this board
I've
the more
actually-
that I've been using it.
You know what? Me too. The more I've started to mix on it, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the Total Recall.
Yeah.
No floppy disk
Great
needed.
movie.
I know, every time we talk about that, I'm like, Total Recall.
See you at the party, Richter. Anyway, I found the answer because my brain completely blanked. It was originally called Sound Designer, and it was made
I
by
did know that.
DigiDesign. You could have saved me a lot of
I
embarrassment.
know, but there's no way I would have thought of that.
You're like, I don't know.
Sound Designer, okay.
Sound Designer by
Yeah.
DigiDesign.
Yeah, but now Avid is, we'll say the Antichrist.
They suck butt.
Yeah.
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 But
I guess we're not getting sponsored by Avid anytime soon.
No, it's okay. We don't want to be.
Maybe edit that part out.
yeah. Cool.
I'll replace it with like, they're great.
Yeah, just like voiceovers of us being like the best.
Yeah. The mouth says terrible, but yeah, it says good, but overdubbed said is the best. I love Avid. I gave them all my money. We did give them all
And
our
our
money.
souls.
And our
Yeah.
souls. Ugh.
You're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah,
Anyways.
a little bit of fun DAW
Little bit of fun
trivia. It's pretty fun.
Sound
So,
Designer by DigiDesign.
yeah, if any of you guys out there, or people, I shouldn't say guys, if any people out there have used Sound Designer when it first came out, or even
I would say even the first 5 generations of Pro Tools, if you have used those,
yeah,
please let me know because you're a hero.
yeah, you're
You paved the
a
way.
legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you used some sort of software on an Atari or Commodore.
Or, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a time.
What a time.
What
It's
a time.
exciting. You're pioneers. And then obviously now there's actually, there's so many different DAWs out there. Some of the more popular ones, Logic, which is what we're using right now, ProTools, Studio One by Presonus, Ableton Live, Cubase, Mixbus by Harrison, GarageBand, which, is Logic Lite, or, Logic is GarageBand on steroids, depending on how you look at it. There's Reason, FL Studio, Reaper, Bitwig Studio, Motu Digital Performer. I just want to say that Motu has the best company name in the universe.
Motu.
I like it.
Mark of the Unicorn.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
genius.
Really?
That's
Yes,
brilliant.
that is what Motu stands for.
Wow. Didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Shout out Motu for being awesome.
Shout out Motu.
Mark of the Unicorn?
Mark of the Unicorn. They've
Hell
been
yeah.
around for a long time.
That's-
Wow.
I didn't buy more of their stuff. It's cool
Motu.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, DP is a pretty good DAW, actually.
Yeah. I've not used it.
I've used it once.
I have
But the one time I used it, it was cool.
You're like, this is neat.
Yeah.
Just neat.
what? Well, here's a good question. What DAW did everybody start off on?
I started off on GarageBand.
GarageBand.
Yep.
Started off on a good old Reaper
Yeah.
Reaper.
and a little bit of Audacity.
Oh, I'm surprised I completely forgot about that when I was
Yeah.
making that list.
And then I went on to GarageBand.
Yeah.
And then I went on to Logic.
Yeah.
And then Pro Tools.
Yeah. What other ones have you used?
Those are it.
That's it.
I've actually never gotten the chance to use Ableton. I've watched people use FL, and I've watched people use Reason, but I've never used it personally. But both Reason and FL and Ableton are very impressive to watch people work on when they're like really skilled at it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like they're like people can make songs in like a minute on FL if they're like
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's based off loops and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. So that's, it's really cool, though, to watch.
Yeah. What about you, Jordan? What DAWs have you used?
I started off in GarageBand, then obviously I went to Logic because it was just like, it was $200 and it was like, it's basically GarageBand, but just with the way more things. And then I've used Adobe Encore a little bit, which also didn't make your list, and I'm highly offended, Gavin.
I'm sorry.
I can't, how dare you?
Encore, is that like a video editing thing too?
No,
kind
it's,
of, or just
it's
purely
Adobe's just DAW.
Oh,
It's-
okay,
It's Adobe's,
gotcha.
audio.
Final Cut is their video
is
thing,
their
right?
video.
Final Cut is as Apple.
Oh, really?
Final
Man,
Cut and Logic
I
are-
don't know things.
I didn't either. Apparently, I thought computers were invented in the early 1900s.
1900s. Yeah.
It's okay. So I used those. I used DP once. I kind of like Audrey. I've seen people use a lot of other
Yeah.
my roommate in college used FL Studio like every day. So I watched him use it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I had a friend in school who he was like diehard FL.
I know. Yeah. People that use FL are just like they live and breathe.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
Although he also used Logic as well. And he definitely said that for recording purposes and just creating music.
Oh yeah,
Logic is better.
they'll always admit that FL is not for recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Which is fine. Like,
Yeah.
it's whatever. I will say, I mean, this is just has to be said in this podcast, just in general. Like, we're going to give our opinions probably and different insight on different things. But, like, at the end of the day, whatever DAW you use, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It all
it's literally like
depends.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the only reason that I use Logic outside of like the studios or not Logic. The only reason I use Pro Tools outside of the studios because it's just what I happen to know the best.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But like if I knew Logic better, then I would use Logic.
Right.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gavin, what about you? What have you used?
So GarageBand, and both like on a computer and iOS GarageBand too. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
I've messed
Yes.
around with an iRig and I've recorded onto my iPad, just to kind of jot stuff down, as it were, and it was kind of cool actually. I was like, this is neat, and it was kind of I was really impressed by just kind of how you can do that, plug into your iPad and record punk rock. Probably having an iPad isn't very punk rock though. Who knows? I don't know. But I've dabbled in Cubase, which pretty fine. It's cool. It's pretty. It's a lot prettier than
Pro Tools?
Pro Tools.
Yeah. Pro Tools is ugly. Let's just be honest.
It really is. Yeah, it's very utilitarian.
Logic's ugly.
Well, then.
It's
I
just
see.
so gray. I like colors.
You can
I
add
like-
colors.
You
Look
can?
at all that red on the screen. But yeah, you
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you can make it whatever color you want.
Yeah, and then obviously I've used Pro Tools. I have Harrison Mix Bus because I bought it for super cheap, but I've yet to use it.
Same. I forgot I was going to say that. I've used that as well.
Yeah.
But
I need to get that because I've heard that it's fun.
I've heard it's the best for mixing digitally. Like it sounds like an analog console.
Yeah.
Which that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Why am I sleeping on that?
I don't know. I don't know why I still haven't
Up
used
your
it
game.
either.
Yeah, I got
How much was it?
I got it for like $30 and I had a buttload of like plugins. Like I don't even
Yeah.
remember. Like it was ridiculous.
okay.
And I was like, okay. But yeah, I've yet to really play with it.
Use
so
it.
whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway. But yeah, there's a few different things. But yeah, primarily just Pro Tools, just because
Yeah.
it's there. And
It's there.
And it is
Yeah.
the industry standard,
It is. That's kind of the
whether we want it to be or not.
yeah.
yeah.
Which actually I think honestly has been changing and is slowly not going to be the case.
I think we're gonna
Absolutely.
enter a time where like every studio is just gonna have like every DAW, and people are just gonna.
They
use
might
whatever
have to.
they-
Yeah.
like just a couple.
Not like
major
every
ones.
DAW, but like
Yeah.
The
three
main
major
ones.
ones,
Yeah.
like Pro Tools, Logic, and Ableton or something.
Yeah.
I think part of it too, I mean, I should have looked more into the history of this, but I think part of it is just because Avid has been so like we design the hardware and we design the software, and it's been like this tight knit thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Avid's going out of the hardware industry now. They're off putting it on the third parties. So I have a
Wow.
feeling that whole thing's going to change. Like
Yeah.
the DSP system that they had, there's these cards that you put in, because back in the day when computers were terribly slow, Avid made this system to off-put like the processing onto these DSP cards. But now that processors are so fast, you don't really
Yeah, you
need
don't
that
really need
anymore.
them.
So they kind of, the whole like HDX system is not going to be a thing in like 5 years.
Crazy.
So,
Because computers
So
can
wild.
just.
It's so
do
crazy
it.
how
Yeah.
fast things change, and
Yeah.
how like something that was once so important can just be rendered completely obsolete.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see people using like those UA like interfaces and converters and stuff now, and they seem to really be.
Oh, they're nailing it.
Yeah, they're.
They're
I mean, and
killing
they're
it.
really cool though, and like
Oh,
I'm
they're
just
so
like,
cool.
I want.
I want one so bad.
Yeah,
I want all of it.
all the Apollo stuff and
Yeah.
yeah. So shout out Universal Audio.
Yeah.
Sponsor.
That 4-channel, I forget what it's called, but the mic pre, that's like a 2 pre and a solid state pre. Yeah, you can give me that. I'll be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, if you just want to give us
Some gear.
some
Just
gear,
stuff.
we'll be
Yeah.
happy.
I'll take an aux
The
box.
twin
Yeah.
tube or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
that's
Anyways.
cool. Yeah, cool. So we've kind of touched on it. With what our primary DAW of choice is. Jordan, you're Team Logic for the most part. Why?
I will say I like both Logic and Pro Tools.
Sure.
I really do. I truly
Yeah.
do. The reason why I like Logic a little bit more is largely just because I know it better.
Okay.
Is what it comes down to. And I think no matter what DAW you use, it doesn't matter. Like just learn it really well. Just stick to a DAW. Don't learn 20 different DAWs and kind of know them. Like pick one and just really know it really,
Sure.
really well. It's
Yeah.
kind of my advice. But yeah, I like Logic. There's a couple reasons why I like it. And one reason why I like it, I've been thinking about, is a reason why some people don't like it. And it's because Logic tries to assume things, which can be awesome, but also kind of annoying if you're not used to it.
Okay.
For example, there's a couple examples, but the one I can think off the top of my head is in Pro Tools, when you record over a piece of audio, like a track, it will just replace it, right?
Right.
And the old audio is still there, but like it's just kind of
Underneath,
over it.
yeah.
And to get it back, you have to go into the clip list and bring it back and that whole thing. Logic assumes you're trying to comp at that point. So it will create what's called a take folder. So it will, it's kind of hard to explain until you
It's
see it.
basically like playlists, right?
Kind of like playlists, but it's not necessarily. It's just like this little like folder that will go underneath the waveform. So you'll still see the old track, but then the new track will be highlighted blue. So you can start comping that way, and a lot of people get thrown off because they're used to it just like replacing it rather than creating like this new thing.
Right.
So Logic is just assuming like, oh, you're recording over audio, you must be comping at this point, right? You've already got your take. Because if you want to just do a whole take, you can use what's called track alternatives, which is kind of like the playlist feature. So they have both the playlist feature and take track stacks. No, what's it called? Take folders.
Gotcha.
That's what it's called. So that's one thing that I really love about it is like the comping feature, and that aspect is really, really cool. But if you're not expecting that, it can throw you off, and you're like, why is it doing this?
Unexpected comping.
Yeah, why is it comping? I just wanted to record over this stupid thing. But with any DAW, like most of these things that annoy us are just all settings you can change anyways.
Turn it off and on. Yeah.
Then there's other reasons too, but I love how it just like when you send something to like a bus, for example, to like do your reverb, it will just automatically create an aux channel for you rather than having to like send the bus, then create an aux channel, then set the bus to be the input, and then add your reverb on. It's like this whole process. Logic is just like, oh, you're most likely going to send this to an aux. I'm just going to create one for you.
That's
like
cool.
it just assumes things. And if you're not used to it, you can be like, wait, why did it just create an aux channel for me? That's not what I wanted, So it's just things like that I really like, but some people don't.
Sure.
So I don't know. What about you guys? Why do you guys like Pro Tools?
Why do I like Pro Tools?
I
Well,
was told I had to.
True.
I would say ditto. I was told that it was the industry standard and it was what I had to know in order to work in a studio. So I took it really seriously over other DAWs, I guess. But I think also just for a lot of what I do, because my main focus is recording. Like I don't make beats and I don't produce.
Right.
So for me, like what I need to get done is best done in Pro Tools, and there's no doubt in that. As much as Avid might annoy me personally, Pro Tools does what it does really well.
Yeah.
And it's also just one of those things, again, it's just what I know. It's what I'm comfortable with. I know my quick keys. I know my workflow in it. And I've finally gotten to a point where and it took me a while, I think, to, figure out my workflow just because there was so much going on inside of it. But I don't know, I go into it and I know exactly what I'm doing and what I need to do. And, it's gotten to a point where I can have a phone call with somebody and explain what they need to do over the phone without even having to look at a screen.
Right.
And I feel like once you know a DAW that well, you might as well stick with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I honestly, it's kind of the same way I am. It's just, it's what makes sense to me. I kind of forget that I'm looking at a computer, even though obviously I am. I don't know. I just think of I'm just sending stuff from here to there and to get the sound and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of forget that it's a computer program that I'm doing, or working with. So yeah, which I guess is kind of cool because it's Pro Tools is ugly. It's really, kind of unremarkable or whatever. And
I think it's pretty.
I think that's what I was thinking too. I think that's why also a lot of people like Pro Tools is because it hasn't changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously
what you're getting.
Right. And it's like I will say with Logic, one thing that did piss a lot of people off is when they went from Logic 9 to Logic 10, it looks completely different. Logic 9, I mean, it's
that would throw me out. You're like,
it's a whole different user interface, and a lot of people hated it at first. But I think ultimately using it now, it's like, oh, this makes sense. I really like it now. But even I was like, at first I was like, what's going on? Where did all my
that would throw me
go?
off.
Yeah.
That would freak me out, actually.
So that's one thing with Pro Tools. Like it's been the same for a long time, and that's why it looks kind of like it's from the early 2000s.
Sure.
Is because it's basically hasn't changed since then.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that they have going for them is that they're very consistent and you know what to expect.
Yeah.
They're not going to pull an Apple like, oh, by the way, we just did this whole new thing. Have fun.
Yeah.
Which could be really cool. I mean, that's why Apple's Apple.
I think actually that's the one thing that I think Pro Tools needs is I think that they need
to
a revamp. Yeah, I think they need a little bit of a refresh. Especially right now with all the other DAWs and the fact that home recording's going up, and so all these DAWs are rising up. I think that's exactly what they need, is just a little bit of a jolt forward. And I think there's ways to do it without completely freaking out your user audience. They don't necessarily need to redesign their layout, but they can definitely just enhance the layout they already have or something. Just something to modernize it a little bit, because it does feel like it's from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But it just runs.
It works. Yeah.
It works. So, and it's stable.
It does the thing.
Really important.
Yeah. Which is, But that is interesting too, with just how accessible home recording is, and more work is getting done in the box. yes, analog recording and analog mixing, on a big console is fun and it's sexy and it's,
Ooh la la.
yeah, it's a lot of things, but it's also hard to do, as far as like finding a space and time and
It's
being able
expensive.
to
And
do
money.
it. Yeah. So you can get a lot done mixing on a console, but most of the time, at least with me, we're all probably mixing in the box.
We are.
Yeah. And
I actually try to avoid mixing in the box as much as possible, but it happens.
I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our lead engineers at Robert Lang Studios about the differences between the two. And the thing is if you are better at mixing in the box than you are mixing analog, your mix is just going to sound better. I was like, if you're new to mixing on a console and you don't know what you're doing, like...
there's no shame in mixing in the box.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And
It's just like choosing your DAW.
yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
you
And there's
better.
plenty of records that have all been mixed in the box that sound phenomenal that you never would have known, like...
And really, more and more stuff is probably just going to be done that way because it's more affordable. And it's like, I can create a Grammy Award-winning song
Well, especially
on
with-
my computer in my robe.
With things like duality boards that are literally meant to just be like control surface consoles for whatever DAW you're working with. Like mixing in the box becomes a bigger...
Oh, there's even more obtainable ones. Like PreSonus makes the fader ports, and where you can just, you can either have like a 1-channel or I think they do an 8-channel version.
Yeah.
Or it's just a control surface, and you
Yeah.
can do your mix, write your automation, and it has like it's tactile. It's it's analog.
Because that's half of it for me is just the feeling of
Exactly.
moving
Well,
a
that's
fader.
what I say is that I just need to use my hands.
Yeah.
And like just using a mouse doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of plugins that will replicate, like you have to use the mouse to turn the dial as you would on an API module or something.
It just doesn't feel the same.
I know, but actually like feeling the chunk of like a 550 EQ when you're moving stuff.
Well, and then like
Yeah.
a lot of it for me is just like muscle memory with like if I'm EQing a snare, like I kind of just have this like idea of like what I'm doing and where I'm going for. And then the second I sit in front of a computer and I have to look at a screen instead, it like throws me off and I'm like, wait, a snare, like what even is that? Like what do I do with
What
it?
are drums?
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Excuse me. So yeah, what are some of your guys' tips and tricks about, when it comes to working in the box and, like describe your workflow?
Not presets. I was going to say saving your own presets like templates and plugins. I think is one of the best things you can do. It's just like saving a total recall on the board. But like saving your presets so that as you go from song to song, especially if you're working on like a cohesive album or multiple songs that are going on an EP, just so that you can actually carry over, just like you would on the board, carry over EQs, kind of like mine did. Yeah, that's my biggest tip.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That's one of mine actually. Create your own presets. That's what you're saying,
yeah,
right?
That's what I don't mean using their presets. Don't use their presets. I think if you're learning, use their presets
As a starting point.
but always adjust and actually take note of what you're looking at. Don't just be like, oh, kick preset, great. Like actually be like, kick preset, okay, what am I looking at? Like what's happening here?
Because then if you just did that, all of your stuff would sound the same, and the more people that do that, everything would sound the same.
Exactly.
Right. Which is why you hear a lot of things that sound the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people use presets and...
I'm saying like making your own.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's what I would have said too. Yeah, figure out what works for you, and then just to save time. Things like reverb too. Like I've seen people comment on forums like, how do you find what? Because some reverb plugins, there's like thousands of spaces you can choose from.
Yeah,
and it's like, how do you know? It's like, well, first you got to spend that one day to go through everything and like find out what you like, but then just save a freaking preset and just be like, okay, I have like the 5 that I want. I have my small room, my big room, my tight space, my large space, my chamber or whatever, my plate, and then just kind of have the things that you use, and then go from there. I think working in the box especially can save a lot of time too because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I would also say, but it's only going to save a lot of time if you make sure that your file management's really good.
That's my next one.
Yeah, and just making sure that you set up your session in like the best way possible. Like color coordinate your tracks if you need to. Name all your tracks. Make sure you're making like groups, VCAs for them, like just actually like setting it up and taking that like hour or even 2 hours to just like neat and like clean up your session and just make it like super easy to find everything and really obvious and just like easy to read is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I do like about working just on the computer is it's just so much more contained and it's easily it can get very messy, but it's easily managed. And then you just, it's cool because you can just figure out how you want to, it's your computer, it's your workspace. So it's very easy to figure out, and figure out how to make it work best for you.
Yeah.
It's super personal. Your workflow is super personal and it should be.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like comparing your workflow to others, except for in like a learning sense and grabbing from it, but never be like, oh, I do it this way, do they do it that way? One of us must be wrong. Like there's no right.
Yeah. It's interesting because lately I've been working on some music, and for the longest time I thought you always had to do like, parallel EQ, parallel compression and stuff like that. And I was just really frustrated because it's like, it's not sounding how I want it to sound. And so instead of doing it parallel, I just routed it. I didn't send it. And so it was sending it from the channel, routing it to the aux instead of doing the send. And it's like, okay, now I'm hearing the process sound that I want, and it's just kind of
doing
like
a direct out.
Exactly. Yeah. And for right now, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, no, you don't do it like that. It does bad things and it eats your computer or whatever. I don't care. It's working for me.
And I'm hearing good.
It's what I want it to sound like.
But actually, though, if it sounds good, who cares?
Exactly.
That's what I've been saying. Like this entire, like even when I was in school, I would like look at them and I would just be like, yeah, but if it sounds good, and isn't that the whole goal?
That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
And
did Jimi Hendrix abide by all the guitar player rules that you're supposed to abide by when he was writing music? No, absolutely not. So, yeah, I felt a bit of a bad boy. Like I'm not doing any parallel EQ. I'm just going direct.
I'm doing full EQ, full compression.
Yeah, just smashing it, crushing it. Yeah.
I did the same. I had a similar thing. I was working on this a cappella arrangement, and I had all the soprano parts summed, or I did a parallel compression for that, and each part was compressed parallelly. Is that a word?
Parallelly.
Parallel. In parallel.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it and I was like, this just doesn't sound right. And I just took away all the parallel compression and just had it just be the clean tracks by themselves. And just each one was a little compressed or whatever. And I was like, this just sounds way better.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to get crazy and do all these cool tricks.
Sometimes the simplest thing is the most effective thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think too, if you track, I mean, this is more going on like a mixing type of thing, but if you track properly, like the less you need to do in the mixing phase.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's really a great feeling when you're like starting a mix project and you're just like, all you've done is set levels and you're like about to start mixing and you're like, this already sounds good. Like
it already sounds fantastic.
It already sounds really good and like complete and full.
Because then it's just like creative stuff at that point.
Exactly.
Like, I want some reverb and I want to add a delay. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should just be little flourishes to enhance stuff. It should be like your tracking should, in theory, should take care of almost all of it. You're just cleaning it up a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm mixing an album for a friend's band, and I was surprised because I was like, you have these preconceived notions of like, okay, I have to compress things, I have to EQ things, I have to make big swings and be very dramatic and drastic with stuff, and I just didn't. Like it's like and yes, I did put I did mix into like a bus compressor kind of thing, just to kind of glue it together, but I'm not smashing it. It's just kind of like I'm just gluing it together.
Did you record this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you recorded it properly.
Exactly. Yeah. So which was very vindicating. I'm like, I know what I'm doing.
This sounds good.
Yeah, and it's like I just need to clear it up. There's mud. There's always mud, so dig out the mud, and make stuff a little brighter if you need it. You don't need to compress stuff all the time. Sorry, kids.
I'll bleep it out.
Thanks.
I bleeped out Annie so many times on that one podcast.
Oh man,
it was great. By the way, she apologizes, but it's okay. Whatever.
It's okay.
I think you brought up a really good point, though, about so when I first started using Logic, the first few years, I just always put EQ and compression on every single channel. Just before I even listened to it, I just started, because it was that same like, well, you have to EQ it and you have to compress it. And it wasn't until I started actually like learning this professionally and got, mentors and people to tell me like how to do things properly. The best piece of advice that we've gotten is just set your levels first before you do anything.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you're EQing that snare, but it doesn't need it because your overheads have the sound you need, and just use your overheads a little bit more than your close mic or whatever. It's like use your faders first to get the sound, and then listen to it and like, okay, I still don't really like the way the kick sounds. Okay, got to EQ it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also don't sit there for 4 hours soloing the kick drum. Because, you might get it to sound great soloed, and then you open everything up and you're like, never mind.
Nope. Yeah, wrong.
So,
Yeah.
I think those are the two biggest things mixing in the box or analog is just use your faders first and don't get carried away with the plugins. And just because you see people on YouTube use 25 plugins per channel doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong either, but it's just use your ears first.
Yeah.
Does it sound good? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming with the amount of stuff people do. I'm just like, you're making it too complicated.
Yeah.
And another piece of advice I'll say is always do save as, like do a save as mix start, save as levels, save as automation.
Yeah.
So if you ever do get to a point where you're like, man, I don't know if I like the way this sounds. How does it sound originally? You can go back and be like, you know what? All this crap that I processed, it didn't actually make it sound better.
Yeah.
I can go back and go,
Yeah. And that's the beauty. That's what, again, I think, and I think that's why everyone really likes working in the box, and you just see such a big, uptick of people working that way is because it's so easy. You can immediately recall stuff. It's like you can do a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. But that's also the downside is like you have to know when to walk away.
Yeah, you have to know when to stop.
Yeah, because it's like I just need to no, just one more, and then maybe if I just maybe I need to adjust out some 440 or 442, and I need to drop it by 6 dB instead of 5.3. And that's not going to make a difference. It doesn't matter.
That was it.
Yeah.
Now you won the Grammy. Now
there we go. All right, yeah, there you go.
You did it.
Yeah, just let it be known to make a solid hit. Just take out 442?
Yeah.
Yeah, 442 minus 6 dB. And you got solid
I can't wait
gold
to use
hit.
that trick on my next mix.
I'm going to laugh if it works. You're like, oh, crap.
I'm gonna that was the magic
I
trick.
did it on everything.
Yeah,
and it
and then I
sounds
win
so
a
good.
I'll make sure to thank you when I'm on stage.
Thanks.
It was all thanks to Gavin telling me about that 442 at -6.
Yeah. What are some other hangups about working in the box?
I mean, I think you touched on one of the big ones is you just have that ability to keep going back and keep fixing it and keep making it worse and keep processing it more and more and processing it. And
you run into the CPU error messages.
Oh yeah,
just error messages in general. You have to deal with those.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other hangups.
Digital clipping is not as cool as analog clipping.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. Or digital distortion. Yeah, you do feel there's definitely a hard limit. Like you can't push stuff as hard as you can on a console, especially like an older console, like a SSL 4000 series.
That has that power.
You can just lay into it.
Yep.
And it's just like, yes, hurt me, daddy.
Like, ooh, I kind of like that distortion.
Sorry, I'm the weird one. I'm sorry. But you lay into it and you push it hard and it just sounds cool. And then, but if you do the same thing on a computer and any, even on, I'm sure Harrison, Mixbus, has its limits, and it just sounds real gross, and then you feel like a big dummy.
Yeah, I think obviously like some of the other obvious ones are like digital just has like that digital sound that some people talk about. Like it's just a lot of people say like that the highs, the extreme high end, like the overtones don't always sound quite right, or like, and some of that's just sample rate and stuff like that too. But there's just some people you get. It depends on the codecs you use and the compression you use and whatever. But just like that high end thing that happens, and you get it on some plugins too. That just like one of our professors calls it the ice cream headache syndrome.
Yeah.
Like you listen to a song and after like a couple minutes, you're like, it sounded great at first, and now like I kind of just don't want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
It's that ice cream headache of like there's something happening in the higher frequencies that's just like not quite right.
Yeah.
That you don't get on like tape or just mixing on an analog console.
Right.
But obviously, there's tons of ways to get,
Get by it.
Get by it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say because again for the album that I mixed, I did it all on a console, and that was kind of like it was mostly a kind of a litmus test for me to see if I could do it, and I did, and they were really really happy, but it was really quiet. And then there's a couple songs that I was like, I need to redo it, and I wasn't well versed in the Total Recall for that particular console, so I was like, I'm just gonna redo it on the on my computer, and I did it, and it sounded a lot better, and the band liked it a lot better, and they're just like, yeah, nope, it hits harder, it's good, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it to the rest of the songs now.
No, I've had the same thing exactly. Yeah. I came in and mixed something on the console, and it sounded fine, but then I mixed it on the box, and I was like, it just sounds better. And I think like I said earlier, it just comes down to I know DAW is better than I do consoles.
Sure.
So it's just easier for me to get the sound I want.
Yeah.
But there's tons of engineers that are the exact opposite.
Right.
They grew up on analog consoles, so they can't get the same sound they can on the console. So I think it's just kind of what are you used to? What's the sound you're looking for?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. And really, it falls under everything else when it relates, under the umbrella of audio engineering it depends. It depends on the song and your resources and your client's resources and everything else. And sometimes, the stars line up and you can do everything analog and it's going to sound great.
Yeah.
And other times it's like, nope, we're going to record this on my Focusrite Scarlett in my basement. And that'll probably sound pretty great too.
Yep.
Because I have a good basement. And I know how to use a Scarlett pretty darn well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Scarlett's pretty good.
yeah. So I know we'll talk more about this. We're building up, hopefully, to the big Pro Tools versus Logic debate where Audrey and I have a fight with Jordan.
Yes, literally.
And
Maybe we'll bring in Kenny for that one.
Oh my God, no. That would actually be hilarious, though.
we have a friend who's might be one of the most awkward people, at least I've ever met.
But the most hilarious.
But also,
person.
the most
But also
hilarious.
like one of my favorite people I've ever met.
And I think
best.
if he had to deliver some sort of like public speaking, even like in a podcast, I don't know. I don't know.
Be quite the.
It would be a lot of him going, I don't know.
So yeah, inside jokes about weird people that we know. But yeah, he would either like be amazing or would freeze and burst into flames.
I think
Either way would make for great television.
I wonder if we should bring in Annie. I'll talk to her. Annie was the one on our second podcast. Because she uses Logic as well. So
Yeah.
it could just to have a
Then a
second
2
person.
against 2.
2 against 2.
Yeah.
Although I'm ready. I'll be
And then
honest.
Kenny as our
I'm ready.
mediator.
Yeah. Oh my God. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Guys,
No, that's who we're trying to win over is Kenny.
Kenny.
Like,
Yes,
we're
there
trying
we
to
go.
bring him to our side.
He already hates Logic though. So that's.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's about it. And again, like I said, we're just scratching the surface on DAWs.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Please share your thoughts on
Any questions?
and let us know what you use, what you like about what you use, what you'd like to use, your own tips and tricks. Who cares if it's commonly known? If it's something everybody does, if it's something only you think you do. Join the conversation. Let us know. We want to hear from people. We want to have fun, and it's a lot of cool stuff. Neat things. I don't know how to end this now.
All right.
We gotta do our
plugs.
our things.
Yeah, Jordan, plug yourself.
Plug. JC Smitty on Instagram. Come and find me and follow me and say hi and all the things.
I'm at Odd Records on Instagram. Please add me. Say hi.
Or it
do
looks
all
like
the things.
Audrey Chords as
It
well.
also looks like Audrey Chords. When I came up with it was Odd Records, but then I realized that it looks like my name, Odd Records.
Yes. That's exactly what I thought it was.
I know.
Odd Records.
And I'm on Instagram at 3moonsgavin. You can also find 3 Moons Audio on Facebook and check out our website, 3moonsaudio.com. So that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Check out
Are we
our.
doing our song of the week?
What's your artist of the week?
I don't really have one.
I hate music, guys.
I don't like it.
I just do this for the money. That's all.
I'm in it for the glam.
I'm in it for
Glam, the drugs.
I'm in it for the drugs.
Oh man.
Well, anyways,
Listen to whatever you want.
How about this is the audience's song of the week.
Yeah.
This is-
Let us know
yeah.
what you're listening to.
Yeah. And check out our Spotify playlist that has our previous songs of the week.
Yep. Absolutely.
Reminds me, I need to make that.
Yep.
But by the time this is out, it should be.
It'll be up and running. So
Yep.
check it out.
It'll probably only have like 3 songs on it so far, but it'll.
No, we have like 7 or 8.
Oh yeah, there's 3 of us, so there's like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's several.
It'll be there
stuff.
anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks guys. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you next time.
Bye. Bye.